Good morning, good morning, good morning, everybody. Super excited to have you guys here on another fantastic, awesome, amazing, excellent Sunday morning. It is 72 degrees here in the lovely state of New Hampshire, and I have no idea why. I can only assume global warming. But I'll take it. I appreciate it. The later that snow bill starts, the better. For those of you who don't know me, I am the lumberjack landlord. I have 135 units currently, 47 buildings. Yes, we really specialize in small multifamily. If you couldn't tell based on the numbers. Sorry, catching my breath, I ran down to my studio, which is not a pretty sight, dodging kids everywhere. It's moving the Heisman. But super excited to be here with you guys today. Have a lot of stuff to talk about. The big thing that I wanted to talk about this week was really a housing collapse. So you're seeing more and more and more hyperbole on all of these different channels. Housing collapse, it's coming, everybody take cover. While I completely agree that assets going down and markets going down is never a fun thing to be a part of. I know because I've talked to all my friends who have massive 401ks that are all absolutely, whatting the bed. So that's not funny, but what's really funny is that every single time something like this happens, it's like the sky is falling. It's never happened before. And oh my gosh, what are we going to do? Because every one of these downturns is different. Whether it's almost always, real estate is almost always affected. So there's no doubt that real estate's going to be affected. I've been saying this for about a year. I think the correction is going to be 10 to 20%. I think we probably bottom out in 2024, in all honesty. It might be a little bit faster, but it really does depend because now we've seen heavier government intervention than we've ever seen before. We've seen 80% of the money supply printed, all of the money supply, 80%. Has just been in the last few years. So what I would tell you is this: real estate is cyclical. It's just no one out there talking on these channels has ever been in one of those cycles, or they've been gutted by one of those cycles. I think the issue is that if you have invested in the last probably 12 years, nothing's gone down. Nothing has gone down in 12 years. I can tell you the properties that I bought 12 years ago, holy cow. Yeah, they've tripled in price. Again, that's nice. And yes, I took some equity out, but I didn't get dangerous equity out. I'm still 70% loan to value. So even if the market falls 30%, I still have I'm fully invested at that point. But at the same time too, it doesn't impact my rents. It doesn't impact my rents. It doesn't impact monthly what I start getting for rents. The other really interesting thing to see is that I was watching Dave Meyer. And so I like his analytics approach. I am big on analytics and looking at some of those numbers, but it's not just a subset of numbers. It's all of the numbers combined. So what I think is really interesting is 4 markets right now are down over where they were last year in this same time. The reason why we do it year over year is because seasonally adjusted. I can tell you that less than 5% of my leases expire between October and March, less than 5%. So it's not that much that really actually are come up for term, if you will. The reason that is because I know that market is really, really, really hard. It's freezing cold out. Usually it's snowy. It's people are kind of in the Northeast. They're really kind of stuck in their ways where it's like you have Thanksgiving in November. You've got all the holidays, Christmas and Hanukkah and everything else that you have around the end of December. Then you also have New Year's. So with all of those things moving and kids' vacations and all these machinations, the challenge that you will have is that you'll typically find that very, very, very often you won't see people moving. So what does that do? It creates even more strain on supply. here's the crazy thing. Section 8 housing vouchers, they still come live every month. They still have more people where the other people couldn't find something. And so now it's they just did 10 vouchers in one of the towns that I do business in. And it was a bunch of ones, a bunch of twos, and I think 1 4. They never know what's coming next in line. They never know if it's a 2-unit voucher, or excuse me, a 2-bedroom voucher or a 4-bedroom voucher. It's just the next person on the list. So they could have 8 2s that are needed all at once. They could have a 1, a 2, a 3, and a 4. So it really does differ. Hold on one quick second. As I always say, we've got guys in the field that we're always trying to keep track of. And because we're trying to keep track of those guys, what we always try and do is make sure that we're available to those guys. So that's what we're kind of looking at. But again, it is a contractor. Hold on one second. Hold on one second. So that's a demo job that we have going on. Really excited to have that happen. So again, the thing that I would tell you guys is rents are seasonally adjusted. What's really interesting that I thought one of the points that Dave Meyer brought up, which I thought was absolutely fantastic, was normally you would see in the top 100 markets, you would see between 80 and 90 of those top 100 markets, you would actually see rents decrease because it's seasonal. I found that really interesting because this year it was only 41%. So we're not seeing the normal seasonal effect on rents that we usually see. But I think even moreover was there are 4 markets where rents are actually down compared not to asking price, but to what rents were a year ago. I think it will actually blow your minds. What I find super interesting about this is that, a lot of the economists say, the pro-business and pro-market economists say the fastest way to destroy a city aside from bombing it is putting in rent control. The city that most recently enacted rent control was Minneapolis, St. Paul. They actually have seen the biggest reduction in rents. Think about that. So what is that, right? So is that because the controls are taking effect? Is that because there's a lot of people that had new projects they were going to bring online that they didn't bring online? Because usually one of the ways that rent increases in a given market is higher end new supply, because it's always more expensive, goes up. So it's just something to ponder, because I think that that's interesting that has the biggest decrease. But why is that decrease? Is it truly because those numbers have taken effect? And then what's the long-reaching effects? We know what the long-reaching effects of rent control are. A lot of people talk about California rent control. What's interesting about California rent control is that it's 5% plus inflation with a cap of 10. That's 10% a year you can raise rents. So while that is rent control by the rule, they're controlling the basis by which you can raise rents and how much you can raise it. While that is rent control, it's pretty rare the number of years that 10% it's been raised. It's pretty small. Until the last few years, we would always up the rent when a tenant would leave, but often when they would stay, it'd be every other year and it'd be fairly marginal. So it'll be interesting kind of watching that unfold. But yeah, we'll see kind of what that looks like kind of over the next few weeks. We'll kind of see or a few months, we'll see kind of what that looks like. But I can tell you, having covered Minneapolis, St. Paul as a territory, it gets frigid there. It gets so unbelievably cold. Like I remember being there and them getting like 3 feet of snow over the course of a week. That was hard to get a flight out. But I remember a lot of examples like that. So that's a really cold place. That's one of those things, again, seasonal adjusting. So it's going to be really interesting to watch this unfold. I think the key is, and where all the naysayers out there that don't understand how landlording works, that don't understand how the market economy works, that don't really understand how rents work, what you'll find is there still will be tight supply. If there continues to be a difficulty in buying a home because rates are so high, let's just say inventory starts to come off and prices do start to come down. What you'll still find a lot of times is that housing number is much larger now than a rent. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. There's some areas of the country where it's different. That's why you really have to do the work. That's why my strategy of a rent box is killer. That rent box strategy allows me to pay more money for properties based on the fact that I know I can get far more rents. I continuously beat some other vendors in this area continuously, and they all think that I'm overpaying. What they're not doing and what they're constantly missing is that they're under renting. Their number's a bad number. Their data's a bad data. They're just like, well, that's what we're getting. Well, that's what we're getting. Okay, great. They're getting $2,400 for the same unit I get $3,000 for. Go for it. If you can only get 2,400, then you can only afford to pay X. So they're disciplined in that way, but their numbers are their kryptonite. They're blowing up their own business, because even if my rent goes down to 20, let's say I get a 10% loss and 10% cut in rents, which I can't see happening because now housing in Section 8 have drastically increased what they're paying. So they're now at 27, 2,800, right around there. And next year is going to go up about the same thing again. So what I would tell you is that rent box strategy is absolutely killer. That will ensure that you're only doing great deals, but that you're likely also doing deals that other investors might not do that are disciplined, because they don't have the appropriate inputs. They're putting in there that only $2,400 in rent. It's not how it rolls, guys. It's not how it works. You have to understand to be dialed in on rents to really know what a value of a property is, because payment, rate, price, those are all extremely important things. That's really the three main factors. But the rent box is just as important as those things, because it's based on what you can get for rents in those units. Because I own so much in my area, I know what the rents are. I know what a rent box is. I know how to use the rent box and really understand I'm not getting 24 like those guys. I'm getting $3,000. I'm getting, 20+% more. Just saying. So that's it. That's what I had for you guys as an opening today. I'll actually jump into some super chats. I saw some super chats coming. Let's see here. And Rob, I do see your comment there, and I agree. Just while I'm scrolling up on California rent control, totally agree. And that's the issue. That's why it kills cities, is because you have to raise the rent every year, because if it goes up, if your cap is 5% plus inflation, and then capped at 10, and you don't raise the rent that year, then what happens? Next year, you don't get that. Next year, you only get 5% plus inflation. So if you miss out on a year, that's the whole problem with rent control, is it guarantees a yearly rent raise, which is not the way I like to do it. I like to have my tenant, if they're there for a couple of years and they're a great tenant, I like to work with them. But everything gets more expensive. That's just life. That's inflation. Now it's getting that much more expensive, that much faster. So, all right, let's jump into the super chats. Phil Nealon, thank you, sir. I appreciate that. The $1.99 super chat. You're very welcome for the Sunday show. It's my pleasure. Vatsal. Hey, Vatsal. Talk to a realtor here in Denver metro area, and they are recommending to their clients to buy a 0% yield property instead and look at appreciation. Vatsal, of course they are. And they are a bucket of suck. They are garbage. They are probably not investors themselves. They are not going to be there when your first mortgage is due and you realize that you just made no money when you stroked that check. You've put no money in reserves. Now is more important than ever to stay away from bad habits. The market in 2020, 2021, and the beginning of 2022 has made a lot of stupid people and stupid realtors look really good, like they're talented. They're not talented. Most of them, if they got in the market in 19, 20, 21, they don't even know how to use the buttons on their phone to call out. It's nothing but incoming calls. That's what it's been the last few years. So elite agents that understand landlording and own property, they're not sitting there telling you to buy a property that has zero cash flow. They're not doing that. I would never tell somebody to buy a property that has zero cash flow. The only caveat to that is, let's say they are housing authority tenants. Let's say you look at their rents based on the data that you have in your rent box, because you got to do a rent box. But based on that data, if you look at the rents and say, they're $650 here and $950 here, and they should be $1,500 and $1,300 based on housing authority, I use that as my baseline because I know I can get at least that number. I'm really good and I've got a ton of rentals, but I'm not asking everybody to do all the things that I do and understand all the things that I understand about the market, and my market especially. So the best path to follow, if you will, is if you can look at it's making phone calls, it's doing the work. This is where you can differ from other investors. If I look at it and say, okay, I mean, right now there's about $900 or $1,000 that can be picked up a month on rents, and the pricing was based on that. And then based on that pricing, I can actually get a better deal on the house because their rents are suppressed and short. And on top of that, I know what I can bring it to. And I've talked to the local housing agencies in my town, in other sections, in other towns around it. And they've said, yep, we actually do have a number of vouchers that we're trying to fill. What you have to recognize is that you can try and work with that tenant. I never want to just run in and go, yeah, we're evicting you. We never do that. We always go in, we see them for a couple of months, see how they are as tenants, and then we make the offer of either A, when the lease expires, or B, when it goes month to month. We then have the conversation and say, this is what we're going to do for you guys. What we're going to do is we would like to, here's what some of the rents go for. This is basically Dion's binder strategy. We don't use a binder though. We actually just do it via text or a phone call. And we just say, hey, we've just texted over to you a few addresses. Here's what's available now. This is the ballpark. This is what they're priced for. Based on that, we believe that that's the same as this property. And this is what we're going to be charging for this property. Or excuse me, what would you be willing to pay for this property? And then we can say, listen, we want to work with you because you're a great tenant. However, we understand that if we can't put something together, we understand we'll certainly give you guys a great reference, and really letting them know truly what the option is. Then they come back and they say, we had one this week where they basically came back and said, hey, we'd be able to go to 1,700. You know what? 1,700 is fine. Could I get 1,850 on the market? Yeah, I probably could. But 1,700 is fine. I keep a good tenant. I get no turnover. They're happy. Am I going to squeeze them for another $50 or $150? No, I'm just going to say, you know what? 17 I can live with. This is where the human side has to come into landlording. It has to. It's not all numbers. Numbers do give input, but it's also how you are as a human and working back and forth with people. I don't want to go through the transition. They don't want to go through the transition. They've been a good tenant for a few years. Fine. We'll do the deal. It's 1,700. It's fine. My taxes went up. My water sewer went up. All of the expenses for the properties, plow guys are more expensive. The roofer was 2x what he cost normally to make some repairs. These are things I have in the back of my mind because I'm running a business, but I'm not going to be able to bill that person and say, well, it was a rough year for repairs, so I need to charge you more. It's much more being at market rents. That's where it really is, and being as close to those market rents as possible, but working with people that are good tenants, because it really is, it sort of is a partnership. It really is. It's like, I want to create great units and I want to have great tenants. So hopefully that answers your question, Vatsal. I really appreciate you asking the question. Really appreciate the super chat. But guys, if you're talking to brokers and they're telling you to invest for appreciation, they're morons. Sorry. I can't say it any nicer than that. They're absolute morons. What you would never invest at what I believe is the top of the cycle or pretty darn close for appreciation. That's just a fool's errand. That's stupid. All the appreciation, 40% the last 2 years, does it mean what goes up must come down? No, but it means velocity. You see what we're seeing in markets. You see everyone's nervous about recession. I believe we're in for a 10 to 20% correction. I don't think it goes anything past that. I think certain markets will, because there was a lot of influx of iBuyers and things like that in Vegas and Phoenix and Boise and other places like that, where you're going to see a reduction. You're going to see a reduction likely greater than 20% of realized prices, I believe. But it's the country, the majority. You're going to see some markets that don't really go down at all. You're going to see some that won't go down at all. And then you'll see, I believe that country-wise, we'll see some that don't go down at all, some down 10, some down 20, and some down greater. But those greater ones, it's going to be more of an issue and a nuclear issue there in that market than it is going to be outside that market. Yes, Vatzel, debt pay down and tax write-off. Nope, I'm not interested. I'm not interested in having a loser on the books. I'm just not. Your better bet is to look at cost segregation. That's a much bigger tax benefit, and it doesn't require you to acquire any other assets. Guys, DIY cost seg. I have a video on my channel, how I saved $100,000 in taxes. You guys got to look at that video. I literally saved over $100,000 in taxes. And since then, I've had a number of people use my discount code 1000 lumber. You can go right to the site. You can use the discount code 1000 lumber. If you're not sure exactly after that video, exactly how it will help you, I set it up where you get a free 15-minute consultation. It's free. Cost you nothing, but 15 minutes of your time. Have the conversation, because I told them, I said, not all the people that subscribe to my channel really understand DIY cost seg or cost seg themselves. So I want to make sure they get a chance to talk to an expert where they can tell them, yes, this would benefit you, or no, it wouldn't. And here's the thing. It can go back as much as 2021 or this year. So if you bought a property last year, but didn't buy one this year, you still might be able to cost segregate it. I'm just telling you, I worked really hard to negotiate that deal with them, and they were a great company because they want to provide value. Take them up on the 15 minutes. I guarantee you, you'll at least come out of that meeting knowing whether or not you should do a cost seg and whether or not you should at least talk to your CPA about it. I would strongly encourage you. That honestly will likely save you tens of thousands of dollars. I had one person private message me saying it saved them $43,000 on their taxes. Free interview, guys. It's free. It's 15 minutes. It's free. Take advantage of it. It's on my DIY cost seg, how I saved $100,000 in taxes. Check it out. Free of charge to you guys. Robert Farinelli. Good morning, Matt. Enjoying the Fresno winter right now? I am not. I am not in Fresno. I'm enjoying beautiful New Hampshire spring. It's kind of crazy. All right. Jay Markey. Morning, Matt. Jay, welcome to the show. What types of vinyl siding do you prefer? Or more importantly, what products should I avoid? I'm replacing aluminum with vinyl, FYI. So Jay, I would tell you this. I would ask you why you're changing, why you're swapping the vinyl, why you're swapping the metal, the aluminum for vinyl. Here's why I say that. Most often, Jay, and you can hit me up with a response too. I like to make sure you get a chance to re-ask and not do a super chat, to not have to do a super chat to do it. So one of the things that you'll find is that aluminum siding actually, with the right product, holds paint really, really well. It's actually beautiful. So if you just have a few places where you need to replace a few panels of the aluminum siding, that's actually far better of an approach. I've had the aluminum siding. I've painted, I think 3 or 4 aluminum sided houses. I painted to my color. To reside the entire thing was going to be between $23,000 and $27,000 because they're big duplexes. To paint it was $7.5. It was literally 25% the price. 30 to 25%. So I would tell you, depending on, so hit me up, Jay Markey. Let me know why you're swapping it from aluminum to vinyl. And then I can hopefully just share with you some of the things that I've done. because I used to be the guy that would walk in and just go, nope, new, we got it. Nope, no, new. And I would completely disregard what was there before. I would tell you, I don't think that's always the right approach. I now am much more thoughtful about, does it give me the ability to make a much nicer product? How much premium do I get for that product? And if I can make just some of those changes, like there isn't a significant issue with the aluminum siding, and I can just paint it and make it really pretty, or I can repair it in an area, I think that's probably a good idea. But yeah, that's my thought on the matter. So guys, I know that there were a ton of hellos, and I know that there's a ton of holy Toledo. Yeah, you guys buried me already. I love it. It's so good to see you guys. So many of the same names, and I really appreciate y'all. But I'm going to just do what I can best to kind of pick up things in chat. Big Pause. What's up, man? Good to have you here. I don't think you've asked a question before, but my memory is a little mushy. We have been so heads down on these 2 construction projects we've done. We should have some awesome in the field stuff for you guys in the next couple of weeks. It's just being edited right now. But those are 2 active projects that we're working on, and we're already next phase. We're actually doing more recording next week. So it'll be a couple week lag. But these are gut projects, and one house was built in 1862. And one house was built in, I think, 1856. Ugh. Holy cow. Stuff is old. Robert Farinelli, that was a joke because it feels like Fresno winter instead of being, yeah, exactly. True story. Sorry, slowing the uptake. It's Sunday morning. I was upstairs. We had an awesome day yesterday with the kids because it was 78 degrees here. We had an awesome day with the kids. We were out all day. In fact, you guys saw it. If you follow me on Instagram, Lumberjack Landlord on Instagram, you see that Sammy is now skating. And so super excited for him, but posted a video of him yesterday. We really are just trying to teach one principle with this, which is you're not going to be good at everything when you start. You're going to fall down 100 times, and you just need to get up 100 times. So however many times you fall, you need to get up that many times. We can't walk away. So he's doing a really, really big job. So yeah, so that's the dealie. Elise, fire me, please. Please correct me if I'm wrong. Cost seg is only available if you are spouses or considered RE. No, that's not correct. As an RE professional per the IRS, too bad it's not available with W-2s as primary income. It's not only available for real estate professionals. I don't believe that's correct. Let's just Google it real time because I'm pretty sure it's not. Can you do cost segregation? Yeah, that's not that's not the case. Yep. Yeah, regarding depreciation on residential properties, 27 and a half years, what happens when you move out of a primary home, lived in it for 20 years and begin renting it out? Do you get the depreciation? So let me just, sorry, I caught the eye. I thought you were answering the question. There is nothing here that says anything about you having to be a real estate professional. That's not the case. There's additional things that you can take, but cost segregation is absolutely something you can do without being a real estate professional. Here's the thing. Don't take my word for it. Set up a free 15-minute consultation. Guys, I want your feedback on this stuff. I take this really seriously, that I want to really add value to other investors that are earlier in the process than I am, because I had no mentors. I had no one there to help me. So I would encourage you, when I set something up, it's because it gives you the ability to get access to people that I never had access to, that I believe can add value. And more importantly, they're the expert, not me. I don't believe that that's the case. Fire me, please. I believe that you can actually do a cost seg without it being, it's a depreciation schedule. And so normally when you depreciate a rental property, it's at 27 and a half years, it's across the board. What people don't tell you is that when you cost segregate it, there are some items that are depreciated over 27 and a half years. There are other items that are depreciated at 15 years. And then there are other items that are depreciated only on a 5-year basis. 5 years. That's it, just 5. So if you think about the fact that it might be a $300,000 house, and let's say, the depreciation schedule for $100,000 of it is 5 years, that's 20 grand that you can take this year, right? So again, not the cost seg expert. All I can tell you is I do it. It worked awesome. My accountant loved it. He was like, you should absolutely be doing this. And that was before the whole real estate professional designation for Ashley, because she wasn't working anymore and because she was already doing all the work. So we've taken some things off of my plate and put them on her plate, because she now has that time where it's really treated like a job, where she has to do, I think it's 17 hours or 20 hours. She's right around 17 to 20 hours a week where she's doing book work or communicating with tenants or sending out letters or whatever, fill in the blank. Big Pause just did a cost seg. So I've done a bunch of cost segs. The only question in this particular case, Big Pause, was, did you have to be a real estate professional? Big Pause, answer me if you had to be a real estate professional. Feel free, give me feedback. I don't think you did. And my email address is lumberjacklandlord@gmail.com. I'm super slow at getting to those emails. I apologize. Still have a real full-time job that I'm still in process with, and still working 40, 50 hours a week on. So when that job is no longer there, I'll have a lot more free time. That I can promise you. REI stoners, I think I'm being shadow banned. No, you're not at all. Gig driver. Hey, thanks so much for jumping on the channel. Great job on this channel. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. All I do is share my experiences. I hope it helps you guys out. Because I'm a bigger landlord, I do push these vendors. I do. I push them. And I'm just like, hey, I've got subscribers on YouTube and I want to pass something on to them if it's a service that's worth doing. I won't rep anything that I don't use or do myself. That's why DIY cost seg, I did it myself. I paid my money for my cost segs. They were in my taxes last year. I'm doing cost segs again this year. They'll be in my taxes this year. They're a fantastic company, and they will have that 15-minute conversation with you for zero cost, zero. That was a stipulation with me. And they're like, hey, that's cool. We do zero anyway. Perfect. It costs you guys nothing to find out. Go on there. If you look at that video, how I saved $100,000 on my taxes, there's a link there, a Calendly link there. That's basically a centralized calendar. You can go on there. You can pick a date and time that works for you. Just don't stand them up, please. I want us to be good citizens of the community, but check it out. I'm telling you. Yeah, don't need to be a pro. I thought so. Okay. So Elise Fire Me, Please. There you are. Or was that financial firefighter? No, it was Elise Fire Me, Please. Cool. So Elise Fire Me, Please. There's your answer. As I thought, you don't need to be a real estate professional, but I'm telling you, it kicks your depreciation into high gear. And that's what we need right now, right? If you've had good profits, if you've had any of those things, you need those write-offs. And those write-offs get taken just by how you do a different accounting on your existing assets. Do the 15-minute call with Calendly. Do it. I have 7 people that have done it, or 8 people that have done it in the last 2 weeks. And they said, blew their mind. They can't believe it. They wish they'd done it sooner, because now you know what everybody's lament is. I wish I knew about this 2 years ago, 3 years ago. Yo, me too. Me too. Oh my word. It was so bad. Yeah, I was so bummed. Rob, Vegas update, Vegas house update. So still shopping. That's one of those markets where there's a lot of iBuyers. I'm still seeing prices not stabilized. I'm still seeing some come down. I'm seeing them from crazy wish pricing, stuff that was priced, that stuff that was sold at $550 in 2019, posting for 1.05 million, almost 2x the price in 3 years. Hey, that might be the case. I'm just not paying that much at 8%. So I'm seeing things like that really come down. So I'm being patient. The difference for me, if some home buyer goes, well, see, he's waiting, why shouldn't I? Because I already have a primary house. I'm not paying rent. This is a second house for me. It's only going to add to my cost basis. It's only going to be another bill I have to pay. So that's why I'm not in this major rush. I can wait out the market. I can wait for the perfect deal at the perfect time because I only need one. It costs me nothing to wait. And so, and I can pull the cord, I can pull the trigger with cash if I need to. So it's really about setting yourself up in a perfect position. That's why I get great deals on my vehicles. Because I like a bunch of people are always knowing, oh yeah, if it's an amazing deal, Matt will do it. Like I bought cars I didn't particularly love because I got them for half price. Okay, I'll drive that for half price. And then I'll use it. I'll use it for a year. If I like it, I'll keep it for another year. If I don't, I sell it. And I sell it for almost always more than what I paid for it. So that's kind of how that's kind of my life. Big pause. Yep. No, sir. Yep. Paula M. Silva, you help us a lot. Thank you so much for that, Matt. Yeah, I'm pumped. I love doing this with you guys. I really do. I want to share as much as I possibly can. And the reason why we don't talk a ton about 135 units is because I'm still doing unit deals every single day. I'm still buying deals out of MLS every single year. I'm still doing closings. I'm on site. I'm doing all of that stuff. So just because it's my 70th and not my first, it really only means my experience is a little bit different because I know exactly what to expect. But I still have to go through many of the same processes you guys do, except I've learned tips, tricks, and hacks that I like to share with you guys to help you out. James Welsh. Hey, Matt, can you talk about your mindset regarding maintenance costs? Just paid my electrician $2,400 for a new service cable. It wiped out my entire cash flow for a year. Gut punch. James, my man, I appreciate you sharing that with us. That hurts, right? It really hurts. That often happens on single family homes, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but that often happens on single family homes because the margins are smaller, they're more compressed, usually. And again, it's one of those repairs that you have to make. The key to it is when you're doing the right deals, you're not only making just 6, 7, 8% on the deal, you're also putting enough aside. Maybe it's 5%, maybe it's 7%, maybe it's 10%. You're putting enough aside where over the years, that number continues to grow. And that's where a charge like that. Now, it's unfortunate if it happened in the first year or two of you owning the building. I've had that happen. Trust me, we're not immune to that. It happens to all of us. I literally had a house that I bought that the day that I closed on it, the day after I showed up to do my worker walkthrough, they had stolen the boiler. Somebody stole the freaking boiler. $10,000. Now, this one for me was a flip, but it was $10,000 they literally stole from out of my pocket. So at that point, it was like, all right, well, I can't go without a boiler. I have to put one in. It just was what it was. And it sucked because it was literally them stealing 10 grand from me. But in your particular case at 2,400, I get it. It can take out an entire year's of profit. Totally and completely understand that. Hopefully you're further on down the path, but the best way to do it is certainly stay up on rents, make sure that you're putting money aside every single month. And it sounds like you were. The good news is I'll give you a little bit of glass half full. You didn't have to write a check out of your own pocket. Your tenants did pay for that upgrade. You made your house better. On the downside, I do get it. You didn't make any money. But if you bought that thing in the last 2 years, guess what? I'd be doing a cost seg. Because repairs and things like that you have to do, again, look at the depreciation schedule. It might be something that depreciates in over 5 years, which means $100,000 is $20,000 a year for 5 years. If it's a 27.5 year thing, well, now you're talking about $3,800. Now that's nice to get that kind of a credit on your taxes. It's not as nice as 20, but it's still pretty nice, right? And James, let me know if that helped, my man. Hold on one quick second. You guys will enjoy this. You always call me during my live streams on YouTube, and I'm answering your call on a live stream. Not until like a little bit after 1. It's 12:10. Well, I thought you were doing that yesterday, so I was waiting for your call. Okay. Well, you can get in the place if you want to get in the place. Sounds good. I'll text you the address now. And there's the bulkhead in the back is open. I'll text it to you. All right. Thank you, my friend. Bye. See, how about them apples? He was supposed to be coming yesterday. He's killing me. But those are my weekend warriors. He's an HVAC guy, does it all week long, looking for side work. He's going to come, he's going to jump in the basement, check everything out, and then give me what he thinks it's going to take to do it. I know ballpark, but I want to see his number. Let's see. Keith Hager, VA loan assumptions. Anyone can assume someone else's mortgage loan so long as the lender allows assumptions. The loan is current on payments. Correct. Yes. All-nighter hider. What's up, my man? Regarding depreciation, is that a use it or lose it kind of schedule? I assume there's no shuffling of depreciation for our benefit. So there is, so I think, and I could be wrong, I'm not a CPA. I don't know this to be fact. I would talk to the FYI cost seg people on it. I believe that you have to start that process this year and they'll only do 80% because it's a law that's expiring. But I believe that once you have it on the schedule, it can then be depreciated over those years. I believe that you might not be able to do a new cost seg schedule. I believe with that kind of reduction. Or how that exactly that works. So I would strongly encourage you guys. And I believe that you can do like I said, up to 80%. Again, I have the world's most amazing CPA/EA enrolled agent, Bob Langworthy from Maine Bean Counters. If you go over and you check him out, just let him know the lumberjack landlord sent you. This guy right here. So again, admittedly, not super familiar with that piece of it, other than I met with DIY cost seg, did my free phone call, my free consultation, selected which properties based on talking to my accountant, which two I should do. He just said, I would do these two. I wouldn't do more than that. So I did those two, filled out all the information that they needed, which by the way, took like 10 minutes. It's nuts. It took me longer to do the consultation than it did to do the cost seg. So it took me like 10 minutes to do it, filled it all out, got it back, sent it off to my accountant. I said, is there anything else you need from me? He goes, nope. I was like, shut up. He goes, yeah, no, I don't need anything more. Okay. Sounds awesome. Let's see. So Hyder, to your point, I believe that there are elements of it that are going away, but I believe that if you do it this year, I believe that it will. My understanding is that there's a ramification, a positive ramification for doing it this year versus last. I just found this last year, but there are people that have gone back and redone and restated 2021 and restated 2020 and 2021. They've restated those years because they did a cost seg and they were saving that much money. It was unbelievable. Big pause. James, I'm an electrician by trade and material has gone up more than double, but it comes down to the scope. Totally agree with that. That's why we got to do great deals. Yep. Where you cash flow more than 500 a month minimum. Yeah. So I think it's different for every market, because in some markets you can buy $100,000 house. You'll never cash flow 500 bucks. You can buy there's some parts of the country where there's landlords, somebody was saying that they had something like 300 doors, but that their portfolio was worth $40 million. 300 doors and your portfolio is only worth 40 million. So that's where I look at it. And it's like, you've got amazing agents, elite agents like Beth Traverso, who you've seen me do work with. Her as an example, I have no idea what her portfolio is, but I know the average cost of an asset in her market is like $600,000 or $700,000. So it's like if she has, 20 of those, right? And because she has some higher and things I would assume. But even in my case, a base asset in my market a base asset in my market, excuse me, guys, is worth about 500, I'd say, a base asset, but I have a bunch of assets that are worth well over $1 million. And so based on that, it's really tough to calculate exactly what I'm worth for people trying to guess. But that's where it really comes into play, where you look at it and you say, hey, $500, it's much more a percentage than it is a dollar amount. However, I know that depending on where you are in the country, you can get electricians for 40 to 60 bucks an hour. In my market, they're 100, 110. A plumber's 110, 115. So it depends on the market too. That's a big part of it. I'm gonna just scroll down and see this. Oh, hey, Laura. So happy to report that tenant is out. All right. Without going through an eviction process. Awesome. At the unit right now, getting it ready. Thanks so much. Awesome. So you were able to do a workout with them. This is one of the things that Laura had reached out and said, hey, I've got a tenant. I'm trying to, I don't want to have to go through this big, long, nasty eviction process. In most states, again, I don't know every state's rules. In my state, I can actually post basically a demand for rent and a notice to quit. I post that. They have 10 days to respond. If they don't respond, I go to court. When I go to court, I actually then get awarded a court date. Or excuse me, I go to court because they haven't responded. And then the court then sends them something out saying, if you want to fight this, you need to fight this and request, or you basically request a date. That's what they then do. So they make that request of a date. I go in front of the judge. The judge says, have you guys tried to work anything out yet? And I always say, I've tried, but I'd like to make one last attempt. So then I go out, I talk with the tenant. We try to come to something with an agreement. And usually it's something that's within 3 to 6 weeks away, where they have to pay weekly every single week. And if they miss that, part of the agreement is that they must agree to me getting a writ of possession if they don't pay and they don't follow through on what they say. Otherwise, I'm just going to go back in the courtroom. I'm going to tell the judge, you know what, we can't work something out. They don't want to pay. We just need to proceed. And that's it. And then she'll hear the merits of the case. And then I win, because I'm not going to be there unless I know I win. So I'm so glad that it worked out for you. That's awesome. Congratulations, Laura. I'm so happy for you. Sam Farho, do you own and would you buy a manufactured home, and why? I just bought a property. That deal that I told you guys about, that I lost the deal because the agent was a total swindler. And then because life works this way, that deal fell apart for her and she had to come back to me. And so I saved a bunch of money on that deal, but I got the deal done. That has a 1-bedroom mobile home on it. I've not rented it out yet, but that does have a 1-bedroom mobile home on it. The only thing that I know about mobile homes, based on my very, very limited experience, is that they are difficult to get financing on when they're of a certain age. So largely insurance companies or finance companies will not finance or insure units that are beyond what they call use of life or something to that, some term like that, which basically means it's beyond its best, or it's timed out. It's too old. So I think that if you look at that, I would follow down that path, because there are RV specialists, or there are mobile home specialists out there that talk about that stuff. I'm just not one of those guys. I do own, like I said, I own one. And in particular on that one, they wouldn't even count that in the appraisal. They would only count the house that was on the lot. This was just a secondary unit on the property. So it helped massively with cash flow. It blew the numbers out of the water cash flow wise. I get $1,000 a month for it. But they wouldn't count it in the appraisal, but the house appraised out. So I was like, so now I get the house and that unit. The unit wasn't counted in the appraisal, but the house still appraised out. Now I rent out the house. That made sense by itself, but now I get an extra $3,000 a month for renting out the mobile home. Yup. Wish I had 10 of those. So yeah, hopefully that helps. Always love that you guys congratulate each other. We're in this together. I'd like to see us all win. Hey, there's my buddy Dion. Dion talk financial freedom. Every time you hit the like button, someone retires before Matt. That's true, actually. It's very true. Dion. Jay Markey, thanks. Welcome. To follow up on my super chat. Yep, the aluminum siding is faded, and I have heard that new paint doesn't adhere well. I'm guessing the vinyl siding salesperson told you that. Right? You should look into, don't take my word for it, do your own research. This is what I used. I'm about to probably save you 20 G's. If you have a Benjamin Moore in your Benjamin Moore paints in your area, make sure that you talk to the paint pro at Benjamin Moore. That's who I used. There is a product, I don't believe they're the manufacturers of it, but they very well might be. There's a product called Aqualock. It is actually an amazing primer. This primer, so why do we all prime things before we paint them? It's because we want a good surface for the paint to stick to and adhere to and not flake off. So that's why all the rage is with these paints that have a built-in primer. We'll see 10 years from now how well they're standing up, because I'm not really sure. But I can tell you this, if you guys look at Aqualock, that's what I used on these other projects that I did. What I did was Aqualock is a white primer. We actually tinted the primer with, you can get it not to your exact color, but you can get it pretty darn close. Excuse me, sorry. You can get it really close. It's this Diet Coke, man, makes me burp. So you can actually get it pretty close. So what we do is we tint our primer. When we tint our primer, it actually makes the paint coat that is also a higher end paint. It's their Regal Select exterior products. Again, I only talk about products that I use. So these are the products that I used. I painted my last one, or my first one, excuse me. I don't want to do the last one because it's too recent. I think it was in the last year or two. The last one that I painted, we painted in 2017. 2017 is when we painted that. You can't tell. You can't tell. It still looks spectacular. In fact, I was laughing with the rep because I said, I'm interested to see if this lasts longer than a traditional paint job. We didn't have to etch the metal. We didn't have to do anything. All we did was power wash it because I wanted to make sure I'm starting off with a clean surface. And I can tell you, based on who I bought the property from, I guarantee it wasn't clean. I guarantee the house had never been pressure washed. It was avocado green. It was hideously ugly. And now it's beautiful. Stone Harbor Gray. It's or no, we've actually picked a different color for that one. But Aqualock primer, exterior, just talk to a Ben Moore rep about it. Make sure that I'm not wrong. And then we used their Regal Select exterior to paint it. And it looks absolutely money. It looks absolutely money. It also, okay. Paint doesn't hero. It's also pulling away from the house where siding meets the roof gable. Have it repaired. Talk to a siding guy about having that area repaired. Again, if the rest of it's in good condition, I just don't see the point in spending the 27G or 23 to 27G. I would look at what the numbers are. I would find out, just again, do your due diligence. What's it going to cost to paint? What's the cost of materials? What's the cost of labor? Because it's going to be more expensive than normal material. And seeing what the repair would cost. If you look at it and they say, yeah, we can rip it all off, put on brand new vinyl, and it's going to be $2,000 more. Okay. It better be good vinyl though. That's the difference. There's cheapo vinyl that you can buy, which is very, very thin, very, very brittle. We've all seen it when a weed whacker hits it and it chews right through it. There's higher end, better density vinyl. You can talk to a couple of different vinyl companies. You can actually stop by some that sell it, and you can actually ask for it. Can I just get a sample book? They'll give you a sample book and you can actually see the sample size. There's the entry level stuff is brittle. They will break some of that stuff installing it. It's brittle, that brittle. I wouldn't go, you can sometimes get away with the next step up, but it's that 2 steps up. That stuff's awesome. That stuff's awesome. In any of the houses that I did in that, I fully expect that that's going to last 40 or 50 years. I really do. It looks really, really good. So hopefully that helps. Flash of light. I think you missed my question. Probably, yes. Reverse mortgage lenders check for deaths and deed transfers frequently. Do you think the same will happen with old 2% mortgages making sub 2 too risky? I don't. Well, so reverse mortgage, they're really trying to. I think Pace Morby is a visionary. I think that he is an electric speaker. I think he knows his stuff absolutely cold. That's who I watch when it comes to sub 2 stuff. I can't imagine that he's wrong, but I mean, is it possible? I suppose. I haven't done a sub 2 deal, so I can't speak to it. I haven't done a sub 2 deal. I don't think so. Because also the way the reverse works is if they have a mortgage, the reverse company basically takes out that mortgage and then they start paying you what they agree the overall number should be. The problem is that you often exhaust your funds in 3 to 5 years, sometimes 6 or 7, but it's usually pretty quickly that you exhaust those options. I think the far better option is going to those folks and talking to them about, I did the 50-40-10, which is a DSCR loan, which is basically took out the first 50% of the debt with an actual house loan, and then did 40% where the seller carried that paper on a note for much less money. And then I put 10% to the deal to give them some money. But they didn't have to pay an agent. They only had to pay an attorney. It was a couple $1,000 in attorney's fees and a little bit of closing costs around that for tax stamps. So that saved them 20 something $1,000 in fees that they were going to normally otherwise have to pay. All nighter hider, Dion in the house. I know, right? Can new homes ever be a good deal? Can they ever be a good deal? Yeah, I think it's possible. Sure. Yeah, I think so. In my market, they aren't. I haven't seen anything. I look at them every once in a while, but nobody really buys new multifamily, like small stuff, 2s, 3s, and 4s. I'll give you an example. There was a house next door to a property that I owned. They tore down that house. They put up a brand new 1,500 square feet front and back units. So they have a party wall, but it's in the middle between the front and the back. They tore that house down. I think they paid way too little for the house. It's kind of not right, in all honesty. But somebody sold it for that. And so they bought that house, they tore it down, they rebuilt from scratch. That building cost them, because it was a builder, that building cost them about $450 to build. They sold each side for $400. One of them just went under agreement one of them just closed about 60 to 90 days ago for $510. So I said to him, I said, don't you wish you'd held on? He goes, oh yeah. And I was like, I wouldn't have wished I'd held on. Like, you had $450 into it and you sold them for $400 a piece. If you 1031 and put that into something else, that was awesome. So that particular scenario, I think that stuff was really, really expensive. What I found in my market, again, just where I do my homework, is that a lot of times you're between 400 and 500 a square foot for a nice house done. So you can be in a 1,500 square foot house and it can be 600 to 750. Normal, or you could get an older home. I could side it, gut it, insulate it with closed cell foam, make it nicer, re-sheetrock it, new kitchen, new bathrooms, bigger lot. I could do all of those things. It's not in a neighborhood, but I could do or a neighborhood where everything is like that. But I could do that, and I could, if I bought it for 3 or 3.25, and I put 200 into it, I'd be into it for 525, and that house would blow the doors off the one for 6 to 750. It just wouldn't be in that 600 to 750 neighborhood. So I think that you can. But those are the analysis that I run in my market. And so I don't know all the markets around the country. But because that's the analysis that I run in my market, they don't make sense in my market. Even if the builder gets in trouble and has to not lose money, but maybe lose money, but certainly lose all of his profit, that house going from 600 down to 500, maybe, okay, then it's probably worth it. If I could get to 525 and I have to do all that work, or I can buy that thing for 5 at 20% off. Is it still worth it at 60% off? Maybe. The big thing is that short of a brand new gut redo to a brand new piece of construction, where this guy in the first, the gut redo knows what he's doing, like I would, you can get to the same level of product that they have cheaper. I do what's called overbuild. So I would go above and beyond. Like I have condos that I did. Well, they're townhomes. So these townhomes that I did, I bought the entire building, which was 4 townhome style. I went through and I bought it for 180, but I spent 250 redoing it because I went super high end with everything. And that thing still to this day just absolutely prints money. But that building is much better built and redone. I didn't gut it. I didn't demo it, but I gutted it to the studs, and we reframed closets, brand new ductwork, brand new heating systems, all brand new electrical, closed cell foam in the walls, like all brand new low E argon gas, Energy Star Plus windows. Like, we went nuts in that place. But when I was done, we had spent, I don't know, 450,000 bucks right around there. That building just appraised for like 1.15 million. But the rents there are what really drives it. The rents there are close to $10,000 a month for those 4 units. They average about 2,500 bucks a month. So I think it's a case by case scenario, Chris. I think that if you are doing the work and you see that a builder is getting to the end, usually builders don't make their money until the last 10 to 20% of their houses. So hopefully that helps. Robert Fellner, can you answer my questions you missed on my lead paint issue? Yeah, if I missed the question, I go to a super chat and then I won't go all the way back to the top. Otherwise it will never end. Let's see. Lead paint issue. Trying to start a project today based on your feedback. Well, Robert, I am not a consultant. Let's see. I'll try and find it. Put it back down below. I won't be able to find it. There's too many questions. Johnny Capsule Ramirez, what's up? Sam Farho, you're very welcome. HOA. Yeah, the HOA can be scary. Yeah. Jay Markey, thanks, Matt. $5 super chat saves 20K on vinyl siding. Might be my best cash on cash return ever. Yeah, talk to them first. Love to know what those reps are saying. Admittedly, I have an advantage. I not only talk to the paint rep in the store, but I actually talk to the rep who's in charge of the region. So I get to talk to their technical person who literally is basically a scientist and says, this is why, this is how it was designed, this is how it works. And if they don't make a product, they'll say, use this product with our product, and that will get you your best result. I want to say that Aqualock was pretty expensive. I want to say it was probably 70 bucks a gallon. But it worked out. I mean, it worked out awesome. The house looks amazing. Robert Fernandez found lead paint on the front porch. Okay. Or front door. Okay. Cost to replace it would be 1,500 bucks. Keep it wood or 800 bucks for fiberglass. Yep. I have a special $130 stripper that chemical reacts with lead and makes it harmless. Thoughts on what to do? Personal preference, 100% personal preference. We have, I don't remember the last time we stripped anything. Yeah, I don't remember the last time we stripped anything. But when you live there, you are allowed to do it yourself. I think you just have to follow the normal safety protocols. I don't know all what those are because I don't do that work. I hire it out. But the only thing I could tell you is I wouldn't go wood. I wouldn't go wood for 1,500 bucks. I would absolutely go with something different. And I would be looking at the end caps in Home Depots, because this is the time of year where they usually get some deals around exterior doors where you can buy a $500 or $600 door for $350 or $400. That's how I would look at. And you can also, in every single end cap in a Home Depot, you can end caps are the things at the end of the aisles. Just inside one of those, you'll see special order doors that were returned. I've gotten $1,200 and $1,500 doors that I could make work for $400 because it was that much better of a window than the $600 door. And I was like, I can spend $200 making this door fit. I'm going to be in for the same amount of money, but I have a door that's 2X or 3X better. That's what I would do. Travis Brennan. Hey, Matt. Sunday. Well done. Good job. All-nighter header. Just had a call like Matt. I'm catching up at my favorite 2X speed now. Perfect. I've never sound so squirrely. When you guys do the DIY cost seg free call, 15-minute free call, I want feedback, because if it's not helpful, I want to be going back to them saying, here's why my subscribers say it's not helpful, or here's why the people that I talked about this said it wasn't helpful. My experience was it was awesome. My experience was it saved me over $100,000. My experience was it took me less than 10 minutes to fill it out. And my experience was that it was about a third the price of a human going and doing a cost seg. And they took 2-3 weeks plus another couple of weeks for a report. These guys were 10 minutes to fill it out. And I think I'm pretty sure I had it back exactly the same day. That's what I would tell you. Let's see. Laura Samanigo at Sam Farho. To elaborate a little more, I agreed to 3 extra days for free under the condition that if she didn't leave, I was going to start eviction process. The eviction could give her 1 month free rent. Yes, technically it gives her 1 month free rent, but most people don't know this because they haven't done evictions before. And I haven't done a lot of evictions before, but in getting ready for evictions, I've done a lot of eviction research. So I've talked to some of the guys. Like I always tell you, you go to the guys that you see their name on the docket the most. So I went to the court a couple of different days and I said, hey, can I just see the docket? And they would let me see the old docket, and I could see the old docket, and I saw a couple of names appear a number of times. And so one of those people I actually had like a arm's length relationship with. I just texted him. I said, hey, can I buzz you real quick? I have a question. He's like, yeah, sure. So I call him, and he said, basically what they do is they get the judgment against the tenant. Then before the tenant moves out, they send them, they basically serve them with eviction, with small claims court papers. Then they bring them into court, and then the judge will try and work out some sort of a payment program. Because if you win, then they will try and figure out some sort of a payment program. And just so you know, it could be $25 a week. It could be $50 a week. Here's the thing. If they don't pay, you can actually go back to the court, say that there was non-compliance to the agreement. They'll actually issue a bench warrant in my state. I don't know about your states. But technically, even if they didn't pay that last month, you could then take them to court. I have somebody like that now that we're moving forward on. They did a bunch of damage to our place. It was a bad eviction. Don't worry, I will show you pictures. Or actually do a video of it. It was horrid. Disgusting. They were only there for 2 years. They got assistance for 18 months and they owe me the other months. It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable. They destroyed the place, but whatever. C'est la vie. I expect it as a landlord. It's not going to happen all the time, but when you have as many units as I do, you're going to get once a year, once every other year, you're going to get somebody that just basically makes it where I have to sand the floors, repaint the entire apartment, do a little bit of hole patching. I had to do a clean. I had to get a 10-yard dumpster. Way it goes. Who you use for the cost segment? Big pause. I used DIYcostseg.com. The guys there are all fantastic. When I say the guys, they have girls on staff and guys on staff, but I say the guys as, generally speaking. But the folks there are fantastic. Calendry.com, Calendry link in the video. When you hit that link in the video, it will give you a free 15-minute consultation where you can set it up at your leisure. And they are significantly less. I had somebody that paid $1,200 for a cost seg, $1,500 for a cost seg, $1,700 for a cost seg, I think was one. That might have been a commercial. No, I think the commercial one was like $2,300. But they do, so the 1,000 lumber code gets you guys $50 off, 10% off of a residential cost seg. And on the commercial that are 1,000, which was wicked cheap if you have commercial, which is 5 units or better, or something that's mixed use, on that, it saves you $100. It's still 10% off. But again, you get the free consultation, 15-minute consultation free of charge. They were awesome to do that for us. Sam Farho, what is the difference of a house on a pier and beam versus a manufactured home? Are they the same? Pier and not necessarily. They so I have some. Do I have any pier and beams left? I don't. I think it's so you can put them on a foundation. So you can put a manufactured home on a foundation. So a lot of times you guys see those wide loads going down the road. It's literally 2 halves of a house. Literally all they're doing is driving to the site and they're going to move that off of that trailer and literally slide it onto a concrete foundation. It can be slab. It can be a real basement foundation. It can be any number of those things. So there aren't any hard and fast rules, I believe, where it has to be, this means it's this. It can be more likely than not, but it's not like I said, I've seen manufactured homes go on basements, slabs. I've seen them go on all sorts of different things. I built a tiny home on caissons. Oh, cool. Very cool. Mandy W, getting 2 cost segs this week. Thanks for sharing info on DIY version of cost segs. You're very welcome. Mandy, are you using their service or did you hire out to do cost segs? Chris Owens, I've noticed most quality information has a paywall. Are there any courses or trainings you recommend to learn the ropes? I know there are a lot of garbage scams too. Chris, one rental at a time is about as good as it gets for value. I mean, it's like $320. There's nothing else. I mean, the only other option that you have is just spending an inordinate amount of time. Mike Zuber's got like 9,000 videos on his channel. You can comb through those to find out the ones that are of value, but you're going to hear a lot of stuff that won't pertain to where you're at in your journey. But if you want it very targeted, that's the strongest right there. There's like Cody and Christian's course on creative financing, seller financing. That course I think is 2,000 or 2,500. I haven't taken it. I'm sure it's an amazing course. Just haven't taken it. Because I'm really kind of in my niche right now. Big Pause. I paid almost 5K. Oh, Big Pause. Oh, my man. But they got me 100K for a unit I own. Okay, cool. All right. So here's what I can tell you. These guys, DIY cost seg, they'll do the same. Mandy, I want some feedback. I want to know that they're treating us right. I want to know they're treating you guys right. They treated me right. But man, if they don't treat people right, I'll have a conversation with them because I want to know. But they treated me awesome. And this was actually, just so you guys know, I don't call people asking them for a deal. I call people and I use their service like a normal everyday Joe. And then when I see how they treat me and see how they act in the process and see how they support the process, at that point, I then say, hey, my name is Matt. I'm a lumberjack landlord. I have a bunch of awesome, super pumped, amazing real estate investors that I get to spend time with every Sunday. And I want to make this service available to them because I think it was awesome. So what kind of pricing could you get if I were able to send a bunch of people over to you guys and get you a discount, get them a discount? Chris Owens, how did you learn? Trial and error, books, courses, maybe a mentor? No mentor, no book, no course, nothing. Trial and error, expensive. Yeah, trial and error, expensive, way it was. The first 4 of the first 5 properties I bought, I no longer own. I was able to escape some of them, true words. But it was really that learning process. And then I never had to learn the same lesson twice. That was what helped me build the business quickly. I wasn't afraid of making a mistake. I wasn't afraid of asking questions. I wasn't afraid of somebody being like, he doesn't know anything he's talking about in the beginning. But I would ask, I just asked a lot of questions. I didn't offer opinion at all. I asked a lot of questions. But yeah, I'm telling you, $320. Think about what that could mean to your future. I just think that it's an investment well worth making. But that's just me. Mandy W. Yes, I'm using them. Awesome. I can't wait to hear. I really can't. That's going to be great. All-nighter hider, 1 rental at a time has been a great course. Cool. I agree. Yeah, I think he did a really good job there. What was it? There was one part. So I think it was, he does a lot of Section 8. I think it's like 40% of his units. I did none. And now I do some. So I have Mike to thank for that, because I would never consider the program otherwise. Laura Samaniego, a lot of people living in the unit that were not in the lease, of course. A lot of activities between 1 and 4 a.m. This is quite a neighborhood. Oh man, ay caramba. Yeah, it sounds it. Big pause. I use Zuber guy that went on there, David. Oh yeah, yep. Yeah, Zuber, I'm telling you, Zuber's good, guys. He's good. He knows my rent box concept was based on his buy box concept. Like, I was like, well, if he's doing that for buying a house, I'm doing that. What I was looking at, I was like, I had created a buy box without knowing it was called a buy box, because I didn't know Mike at the time. And I'd been doing this for 20 years before I knew Mike. But I was like, well, if he's calling that a buy box, I was like, I've got a rent box, because that's what I always did. That's how I always knew the best deals to buy. People were like, oh, you overpaid. No, I didn't. I overpaid based on what you know about the market, which is clearly less than me, because I'm getting 23% more rent than you. This is the point where I say neener, neener, boo boo. Sammy Farho. My CPA mentioned that if income is above a certain amount, cost seg won't work if you have only a few units. We'll call DIY and verify. Call the experts, verify. And it might be time for a new CPA. I used to think, guys, biggest mistake, I will tell you, biggest mistake I made in my real estate investing career, biggest by far, it wasn't the unit that I chose. It wasn't the building that I picked. It wasn't the market that I selected. The biggest mistake by far that I made in my real estate journey was having a bad CPA. That was the biggest mistake I made. It was having a bad CPA. Yep. I would ask him to strategize. I'd ask him, can we just do a call? Can we talk about what the plan needs to be for this year? He would blow me up. And I was just like, it's fine. He's a CPA. All CPAs are created equal. They are not. It's like any other job in life. All are not created equal. Bob Langworthy is spectacular. He's an accountant, and I don't fall asleep. And I'm a fall asleep kind of guy. He is unbelievably sharp. He is unbelievably in tune with what the rules are. As an EA, he has to test every year, so he has to be. I know this might sound like a commercial for Bob. Don't call him. I don't need him getting any busier. He's spectacular. But he saved my bacon big time. I mean, the amount of money that I saved working with him, listening to just 2 or 3 of his amazing ideas, transformed my business. It changed my business. My business was really good before. Now it's effing spectacular. Like, that's why I laugh at the posers that put stupid comments in. Just like, oh, go home. Are you lonely? I'll carry you a couple of rounds. Let's go. Like, just spectacular. I don't agree with the carte blanche statement of cost seg won't help you. I just don't. Guys, it's free. I negotiated hard for this and they were super cool about it. I just said, I want people to know that if it's a good thing or not for them and how it applies. How I saved $100,000. Check out the video. Watch it. It's like 30 minutes long. Put it on the background. Set up on their Calendly. It's a free call. Free call. Free call. 15 minutes. Free call. Let them give you some tips and advice. I should have fired my CPA far before I did. That was my mistake. Eddie Beams. Eddie, welcome to the channel. Wait, I think you look familiar. Bro, I have a bunch of courses on my Teachable. Kind of funny to think how much money we spend on education in the process of growth. Yeah, totally agree. Yep. Yep, agreed. Ryan Allen, I have aluminum siding on my duplex. The seller painted before I bought in 2019 and still looks good. Awesome, Ryan. That's great. Yeah, I can tell you that I've seen it work out really well. I have seen it work out really poorly, but I think the ones that worked out really poorly, they were just like, it's just a surface. I'm just going to paint it. And they bought some paint at Home Depot. It's all about that primer and how it molecularly bonds to the aluminum to then be a paintable surface. That's what it's about. That's what I learned in my process. When I used Aqualock in combination with the Regal Select Exterior, it looked awesome. Looked awesome. Chris Owens, must have missed that. No problem. Sam Farho, I'm using Bob Langworthy. Awesome. Hey, if Bob says it's not going to help you, I believe it wouldn't help you. I believe him that wholeheartedly. So if he says doesn't help you, he could be right. It could be too few a unit thing, not enough income coming in to write off against the income. It could be a number of things, but I'm not a CPA or an EA. Bob is. So if he says it, yeah, that's the only endorsement I would need. Maybe it's foolhardy on my part, but I trust Bob implicitly. Like the guy is dialed in. He's just the bomb. He's awesome. Andrea Prey, I am new here. I'm really excited to have you here, Andrea. Thank you for asking a question. What are your thoughts about the Las Vegas market? I'm shopping for a second home in Las Vegas. So I love Las Vegas, Summerlin, Desert Shores, Red Rock. Those are the main areas that we're looking. Considered Henderson when we visited 2 or 3 times, didn't have the greatest experience just with traffic. I love Las Vegas. As far as the housing market, I think there's definitely I think that's going to be one of the hardest hit markets, I think. I think it's Vegas. I think it's Phoenix. I think it's maybe San Francisco. I think it's, Boise. I think Seattle. I think Seattle's going to get crushed a little bit. But yeah, so I'm happy to answer a follow-up question, but I love it. I want to move something there. Matt, do you have to pay your HVAC units inspected before each heating and cooling season? Thanks. I don't have them inspected. So a couple things. I don't have vents cleaned for the tenant. I will do it after they leave. I have them serviced. So if it's an oil-based system, I have it looked at because my stuff is true HVAC. It's not mini splits. So if it's oil, I have it serviced every year. If it's gas, I have it serviced every other year. What else? Yeah, that's all I can think about on that side of things. So yeah, serviced every year if it's oil, every other year if it's gas. Let me know if that answers the question. Dimitri G. Hey, Dimitri. I tried to reach out to Bob at Bean Counters once or twice, never heard back, not taking it personally. Maybe I'll try again. Yeah, Dimitri, I can tell you he's, what I would do is I would also just reach out to his office, reach out to Maine Bean Counters, and just say, hey, I'm a new client, lumberjack landlord, said you are absolutely amazing. And would love to potentially have you looking at becoming my, my accounting firm. Not sure if that helps. Millennial Mike. There's a suspiciously low number of likes on this video. Help your boy Matt out. Thanks, Mike. Mike is busy sunning himself in Miami, I think. I tell you, I watched it was really funny. I was getting on my phone. I get the alert that he's going live. I was the first one on his live yesterday and I couldn't get into the screen to actually type a comment. I was like, man, what a bummer. I was so bummed. But yeah, I wanted to. Yeah. Hit the like mofos. Hey, thanks, Eddie. I appreciate you, man. Right now, I'm looking into a property with acreage that has potential for building. Okay. The current building would barely break even. Yeah, okay. But would move in to make it my primary. What do you think? Oh, I don't give financial advice. I can tell you I've done it. But when I did it, it was moving into a duplex. I was renting out a side. My monthly rent from my side was $300 a month. And then I went through the process of starting to get it permitted, blah, 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 blah. And then we stopped because a couple of the neighbors became real thorns. We're actually going to pick it up again next year. One of them moved and the other one I just have no tolerance for. So we're going guns blazing. Yeah, I mean, it wasn't my journey. My journey was moving into a duplex or a triplex, having the other side pay my rent, having zero cost basis, and then a development opportunity on top of that. That's why you guys got to look for corner lots. A lot of times the requirement for building is frontage. And so if this is a corner lot, right, this counts as frontage because that's one street. And then this counts for frontage because that's another street. And so you need good frontage to get a lot. So A, it has to be big enough. And B, you have to have enough frontage. So that's the key. All night hider. Hit the like button until it changes color and odd numbers only. Thank you, my man. So yeah, I don't know. I think one thing I would tell you guys, I think that we haven't seen the impact yet. And so if you've been really disciplined the last year, saving money, doing your homework, doing the research, think about how much smarter you are today over where you were a year ago. Likely that trend will continue over the next year, right? Of how much smarter you're going to get and how better you're going to see things, right? Like the Hall of Fame basketball players always talk about the game slowed down for them. Larry Bird was an amazing basketball player because he made other players around him better. I think that right now, the only deals I'm buying are ones that are strategically being purchased, like major strategy. Like I have a building lot that I want to build on. I own the house behind it, so I own that lot line. And then the house just next to it went up for sale. I bought that one because, again, now I own that lot line. So to get a variance, one person can object, but then I own the other two lot lines. So I believe that I can get them to agree because the other two owners, me, will agree that that's the best use of the land, and then I can get the town to agree. That project, I'm buying it undervalued. I'm buying it. It will still pretty massively cash flow, about $1,000 a month on a duplex. But there is that payoff there. So it's really hard, Ryan, to say that. The lots are more than 5 acres in town, has access on 2 different streets. Okay. And a right of way for a third option, currently 3 separate lots. And that's the thing is, Ryan, the situation way better than I do. For me, I look at a spot like that and say, hey, this is something that I could do, or maybe I do all the work of development, i.e. Deal development, not development. So deal development is, there are people all over the country that buy land and then they log it, they subdivide it, they create a development, they put a road in because they have big equipment. I actually have a land guy coming on in the next couple of weeks. We're trying to get something on the calendar. We've been doing this for like 6 weeks, but he's awesome. But the reason I'm getting him on the show is to really talk about that exact thing, is land development. And he doesn't build a whole lot. He actually sells off a lot of lumber rights. He does some really cool stuff. And that's where it was just like, this is something I know nothing about, but I want to get my game better. And I know 7 or 8 things really like pretty darn near perfect. But anytime I can add, I've never done a land deal, never done a land deal before. And I would love to. I would love to get knowledge about it and learn, because I like to learn. So Ryan, I know that time is of the essence on that stuff. I think that the conversations that I've had, I've gone to the town. I've said, here's the land. What am I able to do without a variance? What am I able to do without a variance? And then when I get home, I would then email them and say, hey, thanks again so much for your time. Just wanted to make sure I understood this, and this. I don't need a variance. This is how I would have to go about it. Let me know if I missed anything. And then when they respond back and they go, nope, that sounds right. If something changes, it's not likely going to fully get you out of something, but they might be able to have some goodwill if they, for some reason, they made a mistake. Variances are very, very hard to get. What you have to prove to get a variance is a hardship. And a hardship is not, I want to make more money on the property. A hardship is literally, it's creating a financial hardship for you not to, or not even financial. There's a hardship that it's creating for you because they won't give you a variance. Maybe it's access, maybe it's this, maybe it's that. So a variance has a very high burden of proof. I always joke around with the attorneys and say, it's easier to get wrongfully convicted than it is to get a variance in some of these towns. And that's true. Let's see. Oh, Andrea. Okay. Purchased owner occupied condo with daughter this year as a start. Okay, cool. Cool. Here's the thing. What did you get for a rate? Purchased a 2-bedroom, 2-bath condo in Henderson. Okay, cool. Henderson's awesome. I loved Henderson. Top 4 for me in the entire state. I loved Henderson. Only reason we didn't, like I said, was we just had bad experience with traffic. I was like, holy cow. It was literally like, there was like a camera on us. And as soon as we started walking to a car from anywhere, traffic jam. Should I look into single family homes instead when opportunity arises? So Andrea, I don't know. The only market that I know in Vegas is, the only market that I know is really Summerlin. I'm getting to know it. I'm still learning it. Summerlin and Desert Shores. We haven't done a whole lot of looking in Red Rock. It's mostly been Summerlin and Desert Shores. That's a different kind of ballpark of house, price wise, than what I would invest in. So for me, it's much more about, it's not a financial criteria for me other than I'm going to spend this much money to have that house there because we're going to go out there 4 or 5 months a year. So I would tell you that I would be watching. I like small multifamily, 2, 3, and 4 unit assets. That's what I like. Single families. I know that people have built amazing businesses off of single families. I'm just not a single family guy. I only own one. That's it. Out of my 47, I own one, just one. And the only reason that it cash flows is because I've owned it for so long. And the only reason that I bought it was because I bought it as part of a package. When I bought the deal, it was a single family, a bungalow, a 4-unit, and a 3-unit all on the same property. And so that's why I bought it. And then I subdivided the single family off. I basically got it for free. And that's why it cash flows. So I didn't intentionally go out and buy a single family house. The only other one, actually now I own 2, I forgot. I did a seller financing deal on one. So I would be looking at like the seller be looking at creative financing, seller financing, talking to, I got to do a video on it because I basically talked to a lawyer and just said, hey, this is what I do. And he works with people that are in financial distress. So instead of them having to sell their house, they could still stay in their house. They just need access to their equity. And that's what we did. So yeah, so I actually own 2 single family homes. Christopher Leroy, bang that thumbs up. Thank you, Christopher. I appreciate that. Rob, Matt, best way to fund a development on a property you own. I don't know. I've never done it. I never did it. The way that I was approaching it was I was going to get the lot subdivided. When getting the lot subdivided, I was going to get a construction loan to build whatever property I built there. That's how I was going to do it on that deal, but I haven't done it yet. So I don't know if there's a better way. Hold on one second. Somebody just made a fat joke at my expense, but it was funny. I loved it. Thanks, Mike. But yeah. So yeah, I don't. And then the only other thing that I can think of too is ADU. I would probably, yeah, I think you can get a construction loan just like you were. The only challenge is, so here's one of the cool things. My bank won't give me money for land. So I buy the land, but then when I do the construction deal, the value of the land gets brought into the loan. And so thus it helps the overall deal. And then it makes it a complete deal, one that I'm not going to have to refi out of when I'm done, if that makes sense. Because I buy the land for cash. And if you already own the land, then it's really just your development opportunity, i.e. doing the deal. And I can tell you, like, the surveyors are $3,000 to $4,000. Surveyors are $3,000 to $4,000. The attorneys to go do the meetings and blah, 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 and paperwork and yada, yada, yada. They can be $3,000 or $4,000. And then the approvals process with the cities and the towns. Yeah, I mean, I can tell you, I know that Mike spent, I think, like 11 or 12,000 bucks, and I'm not sure if his ADU got approved, or maybe it did get approved and he hasn't decided whether or not he's going to do it yet. But yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. That's kind of where I'm at is I did, on that property, it was going to be a construction loan. On the ADU, so I have one that it was going through the process right now, and I'm about 10,000 bucks in. But here's the thing. It's all the time, all the effort, all the energy. I'll be 10,000 bucks into that. But when it gets approved, or when I do whatever I have to do to get it done, it's a little bit of a roll of the dice, because I had one where I went through, I spent $9,000 and they denied it. And my only recourse was to reapply based on the intelligence that they'd given me in the first report. I'm like, another $9,000? No, nope. So if I sell that asset, I'll just sell that asset, period. And just because I'm not going to go through, and there's probably somebody better than me that could get it approved. It just wasn't me. Well, with my attorney, I mean, I didn't do it by myself, but it was with a surveyor, and I just got blown out of the water. Didn't expect you to respond during the stream. Good luck getting out of that Lamborghini, big guy. Hey, listen, you'll see. Surprisingly nimble. All I'm saying, surprisingly nimble. And I can tell you, I've actually gotten in and out of those cars, Mike. Dodge Viper, Porsche. Just saying. Plenty of events. Andrea Prey, mahalo for response. You're very welcome, Andrea. Or Andrea. 575. Yeah, see, that's a good rate. I mean, especially now, right? What would have happened if you'd waited? You'd be in the 8s, 7s or 8s. Because everyone that wants to quote out what a 30-year mortgage is, that's based on the best credit and reserves. And I think only like 20 or 30% of the population even qualify for best rate. So you got 70% of people that qualify, only a third of them even can get the best rate. The other 2/3 can't get the best rate. And so they're already in the 8s, high 7s, low 8s. And then they're having to buy down points and all that good stuff. So hopefully that's helpful. David Yang, hey everyone, if I win the lottery, I'm buying more real estate. You and me both. I was thinking about that. I was like, man, if you win $1.6 billion, do you still buy more? Yeah. In all honesty, because I'm such an infant, you know what I would actually probably do? I would find the few people that I'm just not a fan of, and I probably just try and buy the stuff that they're buying, like other investors. I would just like buy, and because it didn't matter for cash flow, I'd probably just buy a bunch of alligators just so they would get frustrated and couldn't buy anything. There's two of those guys, two of them. And it doesn't keep me up at night. I don't think twice about it. It's just funny because I've been hearing for 3 years how I overpay for everything. Meanwhile, my portfolio is literally rock solid. And they bought some garbage deals that I know based on the numbers that they shared, they're not making much money on those deals. I certainly wasn't going to correct them and teach them. All-nighter hider. If an entity or person does not object, they accept by default. Lean harder on your acceptance email is my advice, Matt. Okay. Acceptance email. Okay. Yep. Yeah. So I agree. Are you, Hyder, are you talking about the eviction stuff? I don't want to answer wrong. Oh, it's 1:11. All right, we're already overdue. All right. We'll go 4 more minutes. I will answer 4 more minutes of questions. And then my lovely wife, Mrs. Lumberjack, who is the best wife ever. Sorry, all you guys that are married out there. I got the best one. She 17 years. We've been together for 17 years. Man, I've known her for, I told her, I said, I've known you for so long. I used to be young. And she's going out tonight, having fun with some friends. And so I got the kiddos the rest of the day all to myself. The variances. Yeah. Yeah. It's the variances. Yeah, it is. It's interesting in our town. It's know that politics will play a role. One of my friends did something completely brilliant. The city had, one of the cities had hired an attorney to work with them to rewrite a bunch of building code as far as like allowances and zoning and things like that. They hired him to do that. Right when, coincidentally, right when he finished that engagement, my buddy hired him to represent him in a major development deal. And what a shock. It went through swimmingly. I never would have guessed that, right, Hyder? Oh my goodness. Oh, hey, Tennessee. Thanks for this. Yeah, it's awesome. I'm so blessed. I have a great wife. Yes, there's always the unintended consequences. Yeah, no kidding, right? Any software you recommend for property management? So I do. I've been working it out with Doorloop. Doorloop is the product that I use. It is the absolute, honestly, guys, is the best I've ever used. And I've used a lot of them. Yeah, I've used a lot of them. Doorloop, I love. It lets me literally run my company from my phone. I run it right from my phone. There's not a whole lot that I have to do. But I'm going to do a walkthrough with you guys of the product. It's something that basically they agreed to give anybody that subscribed a discount to their product. If I would do a walkthrough of their product. I think that's the best idea to show it to you guys. I want to show you their product. So things like when you have a real estate agent, you can actually, or even when you're doing all the rentals yourself, you can create a link. You send one link out to any person that you email it to. That's a specific link for them. They can upload, you can create your own application. There's kind of a standard one, but you can add questions to it. You can take stuff off of it. It's awesome. You literally send them a link and they can literally click, 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 enter in a few pieces of information and boom, they've officially applied. They've applied for that unit. What's really cool is, let's say you don't select them. They're still in your system as somebody that applied for that unit. So if we just had one where we got 3 renters from 1 rental. Can't do that unless you're using something like this. So where it was awesome for us and what we did was, we showed it off. All these people applied. There were 3 that were just spectacular. High 7s credit scores, 4 and 5 times income, proof of previous rental, had been long stays in their previous spots. They were moving jobs or not Moving job was one, but there were a few of them that, a few different reasons in there, or just like, yeah, I've stayed in the same place for so long, but I just want to upgrade, be closer to work, blah, blah, blah. We took those 3 people and said, we awarded it to one person, said, hey, if you want it, it's yours. They said, yes, I love it. Then we had the other 2 behind it. We said, hey, we don't have that unit actually went to somebody else. However, we have these other 2 units over here. If you'd like to take a look at them, no obligation, but if you'd like to see, we can set it up for you. Set it up for them. Those 2 other units gone to those other 2 people. So trying to rent out 1 unit, I got 3 renters. FYI, the rental market's horrible right now and rents are crashing. All-nighter hider. Yes, there's always unintended consequences. So true. Laura Samaniego met with the city about impact fee, $10,000. Yep. Water and sewer. Yep. And $10,000 fee to build an ADU in this property that the duplex is at. It's still a possibility. Totally agree with you. Ours are higher. Ours is a $9,000 water sewer connection, but it's $15,000 for an impact fee. So it's 24 grand. And that's after I've spent $10,000 on getting the approvals, getting the survey, having everything go through. So that was my big thing was I'm 34 grand into any property before I've moved 1 spoonful of dirt. That's a lot of money, right? That's a lot of money. And then you just have to look at what your building costs are going to be. And, those things are still changing. It's still getting more expensive, believe it or not. Lumber's way down, but everything else is still sky high. Copper, PVC, PEX plumbing, all the guys that do the work. Like it's still expensive to build. Yeah. Taniki Adams, Taniki. And tell me if it's Taniki or Tennessee. I don't know. I think it's Taniki, but I'm just guessing. Tom Kine, is door loop for newbies with only a couple rentals or better for many units? It depends on where you want to get to, Tom. I think that I don't know. So admittedly, that's one of the things that I've asked them is I don't know what the price threshold is. I don't know that. But I can tell you that the ability to create an app link, the ability to give a portal to a tenant and have them basically, they don't text you, they don't call you, fire, flood, blood, they call, but everything else that they put in the portal, and then I get a request, I can just click on it and I can assign it to another vendor, sends him an email, sends him a text, and then he'll confirm back, yeah, I got it. I can do it this date. Like, how do you think I can manage 135 units? This is how. So even if I was spending a ton of time, we would always rehab our units gut to studs. And in recent years, we haven't been able to gut everything to studs. And so those tenants, those buildings have more maintenance. And so this has absolutely helped me grow. I know that I'm about workflow and time savings. And so my guess would be is what's that time worth to you? Because obviously it's a business expense. I think we pay, even on 135 units, I think we pay a couple $100 a month, maybe a little bit more than a couple $100 a month. I don't know if there's cheaper packages to get into, but if you're planning on growing, I mean, honestly, a couple $100 a month, it might seem like a lot of money, but what do you value your time at where you can literally see something come up in the portal, you can do an adjustment. You can also collect rent through an ACH payment in that product, and it bills the tenant $1.99. No one's going to say no to $2. Nobody. And you can also pay it yourself if you want to, but there's just a lot of little things like that that allowed us to really grow our footprint massively because we were so clean and so tight on process with that application. That was a huge win for us. Yeah. Laura, consider septic. Yeah, the rule in most places, Hyder, is, and I'm not sure if you've done development, the rule in most places is if city sewer is available, you have to do it. They won't give you the ability to not do it. That's what I ran into. Taniki, would you recommend one rental course? Yeah, I would. Yep. We attended a very expensive real estate conference this weekend, and I think one rental at a time might have more value. It does. It's $320. I can tell you it's over 100 hours of learning. It's 100 hours. 100 hours. You're paying $3 an hour or $3.20 an hour. Like, And even if you leave most of it, usually whatever you go to learn for $300, I think that, admittedly, my course is going to be more expensive because my courses, I think there's a lot of courses out there that can teach you how to buy property. I think Mike's is a phenomenal course. I think he teaches a lot of other stuff in that course as well, with a lot of amazing experts like myself and Dion. But mine's going to be ongoing landlording, hands-on stuff, products you need, processes you have to have, documents, processes with bad tenants. It's like in the weeds. I'm a landlord now. In fact, the working course name is, oh shit, I'm a landlord. Now what? That's the working name. It's not going to finish being that. I get constant flack from the people that are working on the course with me that it can't be named that. I like it. It's me. The material, Eddie Beams, the material alone will save you more money than it's worth. Yeah. I spent more for less. Yeah. 100%. Yep. Pronounced Tennessee. Awesome. Thank you, Tennessee. Very cool. Wonderful. $300 is incredibly affordable. Thank you. Yeah, you're welcome. If you're really getting into the real estate game, and that's kind of the way I look at it too. I have said to my people, and I don't have a team. It's a team of people that I'm working with to get the course done. I've said to them, if people can't see a return in a year on this course, then what's the point? I want to have people see a return on it. And I'm sharing all my experiences over 22 years of being a hands-on landlord, repairs, emergency repairs, interaction with tenants, things you need to make sure you don't do, things to make sure that you do, full gut rehabs down to studs, what to look for when you see an exposed wall and wiring, and everything soup to nuts. For really, my focus is rehab and hands-on landlording. So that's my focus. And we have a bunch of forms that we've created that allow us to run our business really fluidly. And it's basically sharing all those. So there's just going to be a ton of it there where, again, and if you do that course once, and it'll blow your mind. I mean, just with the documents that we've created to run our business, you'll have to check in your state. I would talk to everybody should have an attorney. I would check in your state, say, hey, this is what a landlord course that I just took has. Is this applicable in our state? Make sure it's still processed right. But that's what we do here. And like I said, it's helped me build it. Mandy W, I like the name. It's a very true name, right? Like, that's how I feel. Like, oh, I'm a landlord now. What? Because we have a lot of friends that became accidental landlords. Both of them had houses and then they got married and then they had to sell one, but they're like, no, we're not going to sell it. We're going to rent it. And I was like, accidental landlord. Or somebody in the family passed away. They got a unit after they did a clean out. It's like accidental landlord. There was all sorts of scenarios like this, right? So yeah, I think it's cool. Thank you, Tennessee. I really appreciate that. Thank you so much for the super chat. Yeah. Hopefully all this stuff is helpful to you guys. I appreciate the super chat very much. Great course name. Thanks for the info and options. Have a great day with the kids. Thanks, Ryan. I appreciate it. Say hi to Lexi for me. Ryan's daughter's name is Lexi, and she's usually hanging out there with dad, watching Lumberjack Landlord, hanging out with dad. And we're trying to learn about real estate. Lexi and my son Samuel will probably work together later on in life because they're going to be so schooled on landlording and how to do it that it'd be a shame to walk away. But if he walks away, that's okay. I've got 2 daughters too. Somebody's going to do it. David Yang, yes, you need a good CPA. My mother is my family CPA. That's excellent and scary all at the same time, right? Because it's like, how do you fire your mom? And maybe she knows all that she needs to know about it. Maybe she doesn't, but she at least knows where to look. So she'll certainly do the due diligence, probably to put you in a good spot. Brian Beck, hey, thank you so much for the super chat. I really appreciate that, Brian. Yeah, this course has been, honestly, it's been in my head for a long time, but it's really now in my heart. I just think that there is no really good place. And you guys tell me, I haven't seen a really good place where it talks to you about all the ebbs and flows, the ups and downs, the ins and the outs. All right, I'm prepositioned out, of landlording. And I couldn't afford a property manager for the first. I literally said to one property manager, I said, if I pay you that, you make more money on my properties than I do. And I'm not going to do that. I will figure it out. And that's what I had to learn when we went through the Great Recession, is I had to learn how to basically do everything. And so I did. And so anything that I can do to help share that with folks and better understand pricing and formulas for pricing, that's a big thing. If you guys weren't watching the channel, Mike and I were talking about a building that he had. And I said, wait, don't share with me the price. I said, tell me what the design of the building is and how many square it is. And he's like, he didn't know how many square it was. He knew about how big the building was. And I did the math and I got literally on a $70,000 quote, I was within 500 bucks. That's not a mistake. That's because I've done so many roofs. I've done so much siding. I've done so many window jobs. I know what they should cost. And if you figure for what your people are, local laborers, what they're worth or what they charge, I can help you kind of walk into it backwards. The other thing too is that there's the opportunity to sometimes open up an LLC, not to put your properties in, but to be able to buy from these, buy from suppliers. I don't have to pay 10% more for my windows. I buy them right from the supplier. I don't pay 15% more for my building materials. I buy right from the supplier. I get all the points on my credit card. I've got 1.8 million frequent flyer miles. I'm going to use those miles someday, but I get those and I don't pay a premium on the product. Imagine a project that's 25,000 bucks. Usually the rule is half of it's material, half of it's labor. Well, if I'm paying an extra 10 or 15% for that material, that's an extra 12 to 1,500 bucks. I don't want to do that. 12 to 1,500 bucks. So that guy makes the phone call? No. And pays? Nope. I'll call, I'll buy it. I'll put it together. I'll teach you guys how to measure windows. I'll teach you how to measure doors. I'll teach you how to, do the non-standard stuff that will save you tons of money and time. I'll teach you how to select the right kitchen cabinets and countertops and to be equal and then set yourself apart by doing some different cool stuff. Lighting setups, all these things. I'm just really excited to be able to share with you guys. We did a bunch of walkthroughs. And so, yeah, there's a lot of opportunity there. And Laura, I thanks for answering Hyder on the septic. I agree. Septic is a great idea in some cases, but in many it's not. It can be a major restrictor on the amount of bedroom count that you can get. So whereas if you go city water sewer, you might be able to get 3 or 4 bedrooms. If you go septic, you might only get 2, because based on the clearances of the building and how far away it is and how big of a plan you need or how big of a field you need or tank you need, that can completely set you back. The one thing that I would tell you about looking at doing an ADU is bigger is not always better. A lot of times people try to do this big, huge, massive thing, and it's not the best use of capital, buck method. It's also not the best use of your time or money. And capital is the money that you're investing. Time or money is your time and the money that you're investing in yourself in that time. So I have one that I'm literally just doing a 2-bed. I'm getting an ADU approved. I'm just doing a 2-bed apartment above a garage. Could I get a 4 approved if I knock down the garage and build on the first floor? And yeah, I could do that, but it's going to cost me so much more money. And then I lose some parking spaces. And then there's all these other different factors come in. So it really becomes a case-by-case scenario. All-nighter Hyder at Laura. There's a way around that, but that route requires a lot of learning legalities. Yeah. Controlling contracts is its own art form. Hyder's dialed in on contracts and law. Spends a ton of time reviewing it. I have an attorney for that reason. I don't have the time to spend. Hyder, hopefully you don't feel insulted by this. I think it's awesome and funny too. I think that you're like Goodwill Hunting when you're arguing, some law from like 1758 or 1858 to get out of being in trouble. And I think that he won 9 of those cases, right? And then one, the judge slapped him. And so I'm always concerned about one getting slapped, because I think that people really like smart. People don't really like clever, for what it's worth. I bought a course. Nice. Very good. Right now, can't wait. Please hurry to get it available. We know how you are with providing great quality. Thank you, Ryan. I appreciate that. Yeah, we're working really hard on it. We had to get the studio finished, and then I had to kind of get the points down. The other thing that we're going to offer is we're going to offer the course. We're also going to offer like a boot camp. And we're trying to determine that boot camp piece. We're going to reach out to the first students that sign up, because it's going to be, you can just get the course, but then you're also going to be able to get the course with the boot camp. And the boot camp is, it's basically where we're going to get together on a Zoom call for an hour or two and work group stuff, you know, where it's really in the trenches, really talking about landlord, really talking about rehab, you know, really talking about, you know, construction projects that we have, experiences here. It's going to be really, you know, it's going to be really, really strong. All-nighter header. Every angle must be considered. I agree. Concur. Yeah. Pragmatism is paramount. It really is. And along with pragmatism, I think also just being able to just kind of breathe through the process. I know some guys that own a lot more units than I do that are stressed out beyond their mind. I don't want life. I know guys that own a bunch fewer than me, like a lot fewer than me, like less than half. And they're stress balls all the time, not interested. I want to make decisions that make my life easy and really create processes that allow the process to have us get to the answer, as opposed to my always having to be available to give the answer. That's what kind of my joke is. I've got more big words if you'd like. Yeah, we're all stocked up here. I wouldn't know what half of them meant anyway. 9th grade dropout. Tennessee boot camp sounds great. Yeah, I think it will be. Are you working on more product review videos? Yes, I have 2 product reviews that are going to be coming this week that are very, very important for wintertime. We actually discovered a leaking oil tank. Now, we have some things in place that were naturally things in place that we should have. There's other things that we've now added that I think are going to be spectacular. If you guys have a water tank, if you have an oil tank, if you have any sort of a metal tank with anything, any fluid in it, you absolutely must watch that video. I'll have it out this week. It's so important to have these items because they will save you big time. If you have an oil spill in your property and it's 50 gallons or something like that, it's EPA reporting, it's wells have to be drilled. It's tens of thousands of dollars. Thank God for us that we actually monitor this stuff. So while we had something that was catching it and diapers in place, et cetera, as a just in case, it was using those things. We were able to really cut down on the speed of things and actually have a transition plan in place to remove that oil tank. And so thankfully for us, no spill, like, thank God, like that would have been a nightmare. But these things will help stave the time that you need and create the time that you need from when you discover the problem to when an actual solution can be put in place. Because a lot of times that's not very fast. All right, last couple questions. Call in my electrician and plumber to pull permits for me. Nah, I'm not doing a boiler. Yeah, exactly. Bones. Hey, Bones, good to have you here. Bones 345. What's the value add of a patio in your opinion? Ooh, that's tough. That's tough. If you do it yourself and you can do it for like $1,000 worth of material, I think it's a value add. If you have to pay to do it out there and it's $4 or $5 grand plus, you know, furniture, things like that, I would look at the other amenities. It depends on, like in the Northeast, you're going to get 3 or 4 months a year out of that. In the South, you're going to get 10 months a year out of that. So I think it really matters kind of where you're doing that. I think is a big part. Yeah, so I think if you're doing it yourself and you can do it for about $1,000 worth of material with gravel, stone dust, and putting in your own pavers. Yeah. And in fact, I would look at Facebook Marketplace and Craigslist for additional pavers that you might find from other people that finished their project. I did one where it was a cobblestone. They had like, I think like 150 extra cobblestones. I bought them for a third what they normally cost. I just had to pick them up and put them in my truck and bring them to the site. We were able to do that. And I want to say, did we do the whole, we did, if not the whole patio, pretty darn near close. And then we had to pay retail for, you know, another like few $100. When it was all said and done, great spot, looks awesome. And again, we did it on the cheap. So yeah, I think it's all how you do that stuff. That's what I think. Lastly, all liquids except propane, it turns into gas when it leaks. Yes. Yep. Yeah. So, yeah, metal tanks with fluid that aren't liquefied natural gas or propane. Any of that stuff you smell, you just call 911, you call the fuel assistance or the fuel emergency line and that stuff. Guys, it's been an absolute pleasure hanging out with you guys. Live stream. Let's see. The next thing we have coming up, I think we're doing Three Amigos Tuesday with Mike on One Rental at a Time. And then I think next weekend is going to be the event. So if you guys are going, have an absolute blast. I'm sure it'll be so much fun. And then, yeah, live reviews this week, and then potentially that land expert this week or next. And then there was one other one, one other expert that we're working on that we'll hopefully have to you guys. But you guys have an absolutely fantastic rest of your day. Hopefully this was helpful to you. And thoughts on being out of state investing, we'll of course cover that. It will cover that. I'm going to actually have somebody come and basically speak on that for the course. I don't do out of state investing, but I think with a combination of my process, we're actually collaborating on that in 2 weeks. That's one of the modules in the course is that remote investing and what things I do that will work for remote investing and what things he's done for remote investing. I think that will be that will definitely be a part of it, is kind of giving you some guidelines of what somebody's done to be successful. So yes, definitely investor. Yes, out of state investor. Yep. That certainly will be. Eddie, thanks for hanging out with us, broski. Appreciate you guys. Have an awesome, fantastic rest of your week. Dublitz is on city water sewer. Yep. I'm looking at building the ADU in the same lot. Yep. A 2-2. Nice. 800 to 1,000. I like it. Only if the numbers work. Agreed. I compare the price of a half a duplex to the cost of the ADU. Yeah, just figure out what the overall cost that you're going to have into the unit, what cash is going to be left behind in the ADU versus what you would have bought with that money. That's the best comparison, right? For what you're going to get for return on your capital in that deal. For me, it's about a return on capital deal. I know on single families, I don't really make any money. I know on duplexes, tries, and quads, I know that I can buy a duplex with 20% down, but a tri or a quad can cost me 25 or 30% down. Based on that, if I'm putting that much more money in, I need to see that much bigger of a return. So if the numbers are about the same, 2, 3, 4, my profit's about the same, that's how I evaluate that process. It's about my money going out of my pocket needs to bring some of its friends, its money friends, back to the process. So guys, have a fantastic rest of your day. Always a pleasure. Have an awesome week, and we'll see you again soon. Take care, guys. Oh, DIY cost seg. I want your guys' feedback on the free 15-minute call if you do it. I'd encourage you to do it, at least know that it's going to help you or know that it won't, but check it out and let me know how it goes, because I want to hear some feedback from you guys next Sunday. Guys, have an awesome week. Take care.